everybody. Happy October. This is Sherrie Maricle, and I thought I would take a few minutes to show you and or review ways, fun ways and applications of this amazing book, Ted Reed's Syncopation. It's kind of biblical in the drumming world. I'm sure many of you know that already. If you don't, then welcome to the world of Reed. I'm not related to Ted Reed. I just love this book, and there's so many great ways to use it across musical genres, from sight reading, for drum set parts, for basic reading, independence exercises, swing eighth notes, even eighth notes, it's funk. I mean, there's soloing. There's so many ways to use this. I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to do this in 3 parts because there's so many ways to do this book. The video would just go on and on. So I broke it into three parts, and each part's going to have 4 sections in it. I'm going to show you this mostly using jazz rhythm, swing rhythm, which is the way that I learned how to use this book. But I might show you some even eighth note applications as well. So I'm going to do this for you and show you these ideas using page 38. In your book, it could be page 37, or it might be page 39, depending on the edition you have. But I'm just, as an example, I'm just going to play the first 8 measures of page 38 for you, but you'll get it very quickly, and then it'll make this mini lesson more efficient. So I am going to, the first thing, play basic jazz swing pattern, all with the eighth note triplet phrasing, so it's nice and fat and swinging. Ride cymbal pattern, jazz ride pattern, bass drum feathered in quarter notes, hi-hat on 2 and 4. And I'm going to read the rhythms in the read book in my left hand. I'm going to read them on the snare drum, and I'm going to attempt to make them more musical than just the flat line the way it's written, by adding some phrasing, accents, and dynamics. Also, you can certainly utilize the tom-toms interchangeably with the snare drum in any way that you like. Create some fun melodic shapes and shapes and patterns that you like. However many drums you have, use all of them when you're practicing this. Don't just stick to the snare drum. So I'm going to put my metronome on quarter note equals 120. That's a good loping swing tempo. And let's do the exercise. So this is playing the basic swing pattern and reading the read book in my left hand. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the first part of section 1. Also, just this is a short demonstration. If you wanted to use the tom-toms, and you can just orchestrate that randomly, that will sound like this: 2, 3, 4. Any pattern you want. You can't make a mistake. Stick to the rhythm. Add some phrasing and dynamics, and no doubt you're going to get some really cool ideas and musical patterns and phrases in your mind that you can use for comping in jazz. The second way in this part 1 is to play again that basic jazz pattern. I'm going to add a rim shot click on 2 and 4 just to keep the 4-way independence / interdependence going, and I'm going to read that line with my right foot. So same idea, just shifting the reading from my left hand to my right foot. Okay, so that's going to sound like this. Again, read page 38, the first 8 measures. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that was with the bass drum. So sometimes a lot of students and just friends and other drummers have always asked about playing heel up or playing heel down. You probably can't see my bass drum. Maybe you can see it in the mirror in the back a little bit. I don't know. But it depends on how fast I'm playing. Usually something like this, I like to play flat-footed and let the beater bounce off the head. But you could easily do it using kind of the sliding or pivoting foot. It's your preference. As long as the music, the only thing that technique is good for, in my opinion, is to make the music come out so you can make the music come out the way that you hear it. So if you have more questions about this, you can certainly, contact me and we can talk about technique all day long. Okay, so the third way, good job, Sherrie. Third way in this part 4, oh my gosh, third way out of 4 in part 1, I'm going to do the eighth notes that are written in the read book. Everything that's an eighth note on page 38, the first 8 measures. I'm going to play on the snare drum. Everything that's a quarter note, I'm going to play on the bass drum. So that's neat. That gets you some kind of very bebop sounding comping, because you're utilizing the ride and the hi-hat in a steady fashion to create that ongoing beat pattern, but you're using now 2 of your limbs to comp, and that's cool, and that sort of puts the drum set in the whole role of timekeeping and accompanying and comping. So it sounds a little bit more modern than just comping with one hand. Okay, so this is what this sounds. Eighth notes on the snare drum, quarter notes in the bass drum. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flip that around. So the eighth notes are going to be in the bass drum, and the quarter notes are going to be in the snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way. So let me turn this off for a second. So that was really kind of three ways and 3 concepts in to use in a jazz context. So we have reading, playing the jazz groove, reading with your left hand on the snare drum and on the tom-toms. We have jazz beat, reading the line with your bass drum foot. We have jazz beat, quarter notes on the snare drum, and of course, again, you can interchange the tom-toms for the snare drum anytime you wish. Eighth notes on the snare drum, quarter notes on the bass drum. Then we flip that, so we have eighth notes in the bass drum and quarter notes on the snare drum. And now, in an even eighth note context, there's a couple ways you can do this. I use it a lot to practice samba and bossa nova, but you could certainly do it in a rock context as well. If you wanted to play something a very simple basic rock beat, and read the line in your bass drum, for example. There's a lot of ways to do this too, but just very, very briefly, something like this. So just pick a groove and interchange the limbs with the reading line versus the parts that are keeping a steady pattern. Now, I mentioned bossa nova and samba. I do definitely like to practice this book. I use this book quite a bit in this context, and let me show you what that would sound like. I'll keep the same tempo. Quarter note equals 120. I'm going to do rim clicks instead of playing on the snare drum, but you could definitely play on the snare drum as well. So that's a basic bossa nova groove, or samba, if you will. So even eighth notes, hi-hat on 2 and 4, bass drum. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Something also, when I do that, I often like to move my click around so it sounds the most hollow kind of sound that's pleasing to your ear. But you could also do this and get and create melodies while you're playing this with the reed book. So that would be something like this. I did a flam between the rim of my high tom and the snare drum. That's a nice effect too for this style of music. So anyway, hopefully that's informative for part one. Again, I'm sure many of you know this already, but if you don't, and if you have questions, please call me and let's discuss it. This is a really, really fun way to get some of your ideas flowing, and stay tuned for fun ways to use the reed book parts 2 and 3 coming at you shortly. And stay safe and sane and swing it, everybody. Alrighty, bye-bye.